So, Mark, we woke up this morning to the news of these airstrikes, but since then, things seem to have quietened down. What's the latest?
Yeah, look, things for the moment, at least in the region, are calm. In Tehran, for instance, we've had thousands of people on the streets of the Iranian capital shouting the usual death to Israel chants as they head through the city centre, both protesting at the action last night, but also celebrating the birthday of their supreme leader. And the Iranian government and officials have been playing down what happened last night, saying that they responded with their anti-missile and drone defence systems and were able to shoot down these incoming missiles, drones, whatever was launched at them, with minimum to no damage. So we wait to really hear confirmation, if we ever get it, from Israel. It may be that we never get that confirmation from Israel that they have launched this strike in the early hours of the morning. The only way we know really that this was Israel that was behind the events overnight is the fact that the US have been briefing the G7 group of foreign ministers meeting in Italy there, telling them that they were told by Israel shortly before these strikes were launched that they were launching what seemed to be a minimum level of strikes in Iran. So Iran, as I say, downplaying it, suggesting that they will not be responding in kind. There will be no retaliation at this point. Doesn't mean that at some point in the coming hours and days we won't see the usual attacks from its proxies in southern Lebanon, in Yemen, in Iraq or Syria. That is likely because that plays out every day, really, right across that region and has done for many years now. But in terms of this big threat of state-to-state war, which began, of course, with that very significant launch of drones and ballistic missiles and cruise missiles on Saturday night, the response from Israel thus far has been limited. Now, that doesn't mean, Martin, that that will be the full response and that is the end of the matter. This may be the first phase. We don't really know. The hope will be amongst Western leaders, Martin, that that is it, that Israel has sent a message and they will leave it at that for the time being.
Excellent summary, as ever. Thanks for joining us, Mark White. And joining me now to discuss this further is the former British Army officer and defence analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford. Stuart, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. So for now, we have a standoff, we have a peace, but how fragile do you think that peace could be?
An interesting question, and I think that Mark's report, which we've just heard, is pretty on the money in terms of where we are at the moment. It's difficult from open sources to know exactly what's going on because the US is saying that an Israeli missile was launched and hit Iran. The Iranians were saying, no, nothing hit them, or if anything did hit them, it was just a few drones. And the Israelis are saying nothing. My opinion at this stage, and I don't have any information other than what appears in open sources, is that the Israelis have fired a shot across the Iranian bows, basically saying, look, we can get to you if we want, so back off. The other interpretation, of course, is that this is a trial run for something greater to come. And if that is to happen, it will happen over the weekend. But let's hope that, wiser heads prevail and the whole thing is cooled down and we don't have any escalation or continuation of that sort of level of missile and drone exchange.
Stuart, what's been interesting is that a lot of reports have been saying this is precisely what the West didn't want Israel to do. But Israel has a right to defend itself, doesn't it? After what happened on October the 7th, it has every right. Nations around the world saying, oh, you must wind down. Joe Biden saying, take the win. But October the 7th changed everything.
Yeah, indeed it did. And I believe that Israel has an absolute right to take whatever action it thinks necessary to stop the October 7th attack ever happening again, if that's not too great an aspiration. But I mean, there's no doubt that Iran has said that it wants to remove Israel from the map, from the Middle East, from the world, and therefore Iran is Israel's enemy. And Israel, of course, its greatest ally is the US. And the US is desperately keen not to become involved in any sort of regional, conventional conflict. But I've said for many months and years now that at some point the US is going to have to deal with Iran, hopefully through diplomatic means, but if push comes to shove, by other means.
And of course, historically, Stuart Crawford, the Americans have sent billions of dollars to Iran. I wonder if they regret that now. Thanks for joining us on the show, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford. Always a delight to have your expert insight.